There we go. Eli, describe to me where you are.
I'm at Professional Smoke in Greenwood. I'm a locker member here. It's just a cool little spot. You can
Nice.
smoke a stogie. When you're a locker member, you get 24/7 access, so that's pretty
Oh,
solid. That's why Monday and Tuesday they're closed, but I'm here all by myself. If I happen to be coming north, I hang out and work here. If I'm going south, I go to my office building. If I want to stay home and because I'm going nowhere, then I can do that too. But this is where I'm at today.
it's nice. It's like a really cool work space, like one of those shared workplaces that they have that you can rent or whatever.
You got it. And I'm almost always the only one in here. It's literally called Professional Smoke because they're kind of one of the pieces is they want people to come in and during the day work, crank, get stuff done, business owners rock and roll, and then if you want to hang out at night, that's where then you can relax. I'm never here during their working hours. I'm always here during the day when nobody else is.
Yeah, that's cool. Is that their cup or is that a branded Eli cup? It looked like.
This is their cup. It's
Okay.
not their branded. I don't even know what that is. That's the only thing I do is sit here and drink water and work my tail off, and then get to talk to
Beautiful.
people like you occasionally.
Yeah, randomly. We love it. So, what's been going on in the last couple of weeks since we talked? I feel like you're a busy man. Anything new in your life?
Yeah, there's a few things, and a few things have come up that I think is really good for obviously the buyers. Like just some interesting things in the real estate market in general here and in the Indianapolis area that people should be paying attention to, sellers, buyers, investors. But then we've come across a couple times. I say we, me and the mouse in my pocket. But a few things have occurred recently that reminded me that as much as I hate kind of sharing my secrets, if you will,
Hmm.
because the rest of the world gets to see it, and the other real estate agents, aka my competition, gets to see it. But to me, I'd rather get the information out to the people that are going to call me and kind of give you a reason to call me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about it a little bit today with you because I know this is in your future too. And depending on the market you're in, some of this may be super valuable. But the market right now in Indianapolis area, and that's the only place I can really speak to it. In Indianapolis and suburbs for sure,
Hmm.
the market's in a spot that is weird balance. It's not been this way for quite a while. Matter of fact, I wasn't even in the industry full time, like helping other people. I was an investor, but I was not. I'm not sure this has existed since 2010, to be honest. And what it is a super balanced market where there's a lot of buyers that want to buy and they can buy, a lot of sellers that want to sell and they can sell, and a lot of investors that want to buy and sell and they're able to do it too. There's plenty of those out there still. I'm not for sure why.
Hmm.
Interest rates aren't really any better than they have been the last couple of years. When you have a bunch of sellers putting their house on the market, then the buyers, get good deals and it's tough to sell. If you've got too many buyers in the market, not enough houses, then it's the other way. But right now we've got a ton of buyers, a ton of sellers, and a ton of investors, but yet everybody's getting to do what they want to do. So it's pretty neat. So you feel like it's a good time to sell or buy. I'm like, yes, right now the answer is yes. It's a good time to do both. You're not going to steal a house as a retail buyer. You're not going to get like this crazy financial deal, but at the same time, you're not going to be fighting over these houses with
Hmm.
50 other buyers on day one. As a seller, you're not going to be able to just ask anything, and if you overprice your house, you're toast. It's just going to sit there.
Hmm.
Um, but you're getting the right numbers. It's not like it was a year ago where you're actually kind of taking a dive at some level. It at least feels like it. So we're back up to the peak where the highest we've been in most cases as far as sale prices, but it's just a weird thing that I'm not used to, but I enjoy. I've got one buyer I'm working with right now. I don't know, 15, 16 listings that are pending or active or whatever, and things are going really, really well for everybody. But the buyers I was working with, they all bought houses,
Hmm.
so it's been pretty cool. But there's a few houses still, and this is what brings this up. Then we're buying one from an investment perspective
Hmm.
that brought some of this stuff back to mind too. And it's like you say you're buying a $350,000 house, and um, the it's the one, right? It's the one everybody loves. It's absolutely immaculate. It's really well priced. Like it's in a great location. All the 350 buyers are looking around and they're all like, they're fine houses. And then this one hits the market, right? And everybody just converges. You're going to have that still. And there's really some things that we as agents need to be aware of, and that buyers need to, they need to be aware of,
Mhm.
that's going to help them win and put in the right type of offer. So I just talk a little bit about that because if you're 20 years old, 25 years old, trying to buy a house and your mom and dad are with you and they bought a house 30 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever, you're going to have a really hard time, because if it's a busy house, I'm going to tell you to do some things that are unheard of, right? If I, you know, 10 years ago, if you walked into a car lot and paid sticker price, you had lost your mind, right? And that's the mentality of most of these um, you know 60-year-old parents, 50-year-old parents, or grandparents even that are even older. They're going, why, what are they asking for the house? 200. I'm like, and my answer is, I don't, doesn't matter. Why do we care what they're asking for the house? Like, if we want it, we go get it. If we don't, we don't. But we're not worried about this list price thing. But it's so hard to go through that with these people. But that's just an example. Like,
Mhm.
buyers have to be um, prepared to do it different than their parents did 20 years ago. And it's been that way for quite a few years, 19, 20, 21, 22, and then it slowed down in 23 and 24. It's picking back up here in 25.
Mhm.
But, you know, what I'm going to tell you a couple strategies that help you write a really good offer. And I'll explain along the way a little bit about what I'm saying. But I'll start by saying, list price on a house is the one thing that we all see. Everybody knows, oh, they're asking 359.9, they're asking 360, they're asking whatever. And that's important at some level.
Okay.
But the purpose in listing clients, people want to sell their house, listen to this. There's two things you need to really pay attention to. List price. This is not a determination of value. This is not what we're hoping to get,
Mhm.
really. Exactly. What it is doing a couple things. Your list price should be accomplishing these things. This is so outside the box, not because it's like super smart, but it's just outside of what you expect. And most agents don't even think this deep into it. They say, oh, well, your house should go for about, and then they price it there, or they price it, 5% higher, and because they know people are going to talk them down, or they have all these excuses. Well,
Right.
here's what I'm going to tell you. The list price of a house accomplishes setting an expectation of kind of what we're thinking as sellers, we're expecting from the buyer pool, from the market.
Mhm.
And it's setting this, it's getting, it's placing the house in the right buyer pool. So if your house is worth, let's just use 255, for example, you guys think that if you had to pick a number as a seller, it's $255,000. Well, I'm going to tell you to price it at 250 for
Mhm.
a number of reasons. One, it still communicates the right expectation. We're in this range.
Okay.
But at 250, it gets us in the right buyer pool, and you don't miss anybody, because at 255, go to Zillow, go to search engines, you can find it, but it's hard to. Nobody searches for 255,000 and down. It's
Mhm.
250 or 275. Okay. So if I price it at 255, heck, if I price it at 251, I missed all the 250 and down buyers, and we would have happily sold it to them. Not to mention, these 250 buyers are going to potentially all flock there and show up and push it up to 255 or 260. You never really know,
Mhm.
because they might have wisely set their search in such a space that they know they may have to overpay. This really happened a bunch in the early 2020s, that they put their search in a spot knowing that at 250 they may have to pay 260. If they search for 260, they may have to pay 270 and they can't afford it.
Yeah.
So they put their price at 250. So list price is all about communicating an generalized expectation of where we're planning to land. But even more importantly, it's trying to get it into the right buyer pool.
Okay.
And if so many people out there selling are missing the buyer pool by a negligible amount of money that makes no sense, because now you're looking for the 275 and down buyer because you priced it at 255. Whereas you got a whole nother host of people at 250 and down that will never see your house because they're not searching for it there.
Wow.
So that's one of the starting points for this conversation, is understanding what the list price is, because one of the biggest battles with especially first time buyers who have mom or dad come along is, well, we're not paying list price, or there's no way we're paying over list price. And listen, this is not the value of the house. This is not what it's worth to the market. This is not what it's worth to you. This is not what it's worth to anybody. This is a communication of expectation and getting it in the right buyer pool. Whether or not the agent knew what they were doing at the time, that's what it is. So I've listed houses for $1 because it doesn't communicate value. Nobody thinks my house is going to go for $1. It communicates the expectation of, you know what, just write an offer. Just give us something. Go do your math, decide what it's worth, and go write an offer. No, it's communicating something, not value. It just doesn't communicate value. So I use list price very strategically, and buyers who understand what list price is for can ignore it. You know, well, they're asking too much. Okay, who cares what they're asking? I don't see why that even matters. Now, you know, they're either ignorant, or they're stubborn, or they're just shooting for the moon, right? There's like really 3 options there. And ignorant and stubborn, we can't do anything about it. Peace out. Shooting for the moon, that's fine. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times somebody overprices their house by a big number because they want to shoot for the moon. And we come in and say they price it at 250. We know it's a $200,000 house. We write a $200,000 offer and we get it. Where everybody else is walking away. So I guess that's another thing. Studies have shown, we did our own study, and then because we do enough business that we can create these studies of our own. But then the realtor world, the big dogs nationally, did a study, came up with the same results. This is going to blow your mind. 5% overpriced means you don't get offers. 5%. On a $400,000 house, that means 20 grand overpriced, and you will not get the offers that you should have gotten. This was even true in the early 2020s when it was just bonkers, right? And everybody's offering way over asking and appraisal gaps and all that. If you overpriced your house by 5%, you should have gotten 10 offers. You got 0, not 1, not 2.
0.
You got 0.
Wow.
It is mind blowing, and it stays true every market I've been in. So you can't overprice your house, because if you do, here's what I get. The agent shows the house, and I check back in. Hey, what are your thoughts? And they say it's overpriced. I'm going, where's your offer? Like, what's your offer then?
Yeah.
There isn't one. They legit don't make an offer.
Wow.
So yeah, overprice your house all day and watch people show up to look at it and then don't write an offer. Show up to look at it and don't write an offer.
Wow.
I've talked a lot, laid some groundwork here, but I want to come up with, here's this couple strategies. I'm not going to go into everything because it's unlimited, but here's some key strategies and the order in which you do things to make sure that you're putting the best offer you're going to put in. But the first question you have to answer, and your agent should be asking every single time that you kind of show an interest in this one house, you're walking through it and they're like, okay, yeah, I think this could be one of them, right? This could be the one, or a one. And the question the agent should be asking is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you want this house?
Yeah.
What buyers ask us all the time is, what do we need to offer? What should we offer? What do we need to offer to win? All those questions. I can't answer that because it's a bunch of guessing. What I can do is I can help you create the best offer for you, given your financial situation, the cash in your pocket, the loan you have, the loan type you have, on and on and on. So my question is, I can't answer that direct question of what should we offer necessarily.
Right.
What I am going to ask you is, I want to match whatever offer we create with your desire for the house. And that's where then all of this springs from. If you tell me it's an 8 out of 10, then we're probably willing to pay close to list price, but we're not giving up the farm.
Yeah.
If we're a 9 out of 10, definitely list price, but maybe we're not going hog wild with anything else. I'm just talking about list price for the second. But if we're an 11 out of 10, then we're going, what is the absolute highest we can offer, where if it does appraise, we are happy with the payment, right? Like, we're giving them everything. And then we're going to work down this list. So let's, for the purposes of this conversation, we're an 11 out of 10. They're like, Eli, if you don't get this house for us, we are going to bury you in the backyard of whatever house we do buy. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me do this with you. So first thing is list price. You need, first thing is offer price.
Okay.
If you're an 11 out of 10 and you really are, this is the house, I have to get it for you. Offer price is number one. You do not even almost think about concerning yourself with the list price. We don't care what they want. We want the house. We got to go get it. Offer price is number one. This is always over asking. If you have a loan, your appraisal can catch you. It's a $200,000 house. Hypothetically, offer them $1 million. Why? The appraisal is going to come back at 200. They drop the price to 200, or we all walk, right? To renegotiation at that point. So we could offer 210 and it comes back at 200, same deal. $1 million comes back at 200, same deal. So we're going as high as we can reasonably go and still afford the payment. That's why the $1 million is actually fine, because we know for sure the appraisal is not going to come in on that. But if you're at 200 and you're like, man, we can afford 210, then great, offer 210. But if you were to offer 225 and it actually appraised, now you're in trouble because you don't want that payment.
Right.
So you, whatever you can offer, the highest you can go while still affording the payment. Step one, offer price. Step two, loan type. If you want to be FHA, if you want to be VA, if you want to be USDA, wonderful. But you're at the bottom of the totem pole. I don't care what your price is. You are a lesser borrower. You are a lesser buyer than a conventional buyer, a cash buyer, a hard money buyer, whatever. There's a bunch of different options. So your loan type is important. And you know, you call me, we'll talk through all the specifics of those, but loan type, you want to get to conventional if you can. But if we can't affect that, then you just leave it alone. And we move on to step three. Never ask for concessions. If you absolutely do not have, if you do not have to, absolutely do not ask for concessions. Don't ask them to pay your closing costs. Don't ask them to pay your lender fees. Don't ask them to give you a home warranty. Don't ask them to, you can take this to some extremes, but don't ask them to do all that, because that's going to completely conflict with the offer price.
Right.
I've termed it, because there's a term we're not allowed to use being politically correct anymore, but it's called ungifting is what I call it now, so I don't go to jail. Ungifting. I'm going to give you $200,000, but then I'm going to have you give me 500 back.
Right.
I call it ungifting. So that flies in the face of your offer. And two, it makes it a harder scenario in the event the appraisal does come in low, because now that you told them you were going to pay, I'm going to go back to the example with the $200,000 list price, we offering 210. And then we ask for 5,000 back. If the appraisal comes in at 210 and you get $5,000 back, cool, they got 205. If you offer 210, ask for 5,000 in help, and the appraisal comes in at 200, you've got two issues now. The appraisal is low, so it's a complete renegotiation. And in the meantime, you're probably going to lose the 5,000 in concessions anyway.
Right.
Because they just lost 10 grand. You said you were paying 210. It's this third party appraiser that works only for the bank, has nothing to do with the seller. There's really nothing to do with what you want to do as a buyer. It just has to do with protecting the bank. So now they lost 10 grand off the 210 down to 200. And then you still want the 5,000. Now they're at 195. They should have sold it to somebody else.
Yeah.
You would have paid 200 with no concessions. Okay. So never ask for concessions. The other thing that flies in the face of is the exact next thing, which is number 4, which is your appraisal gap. Now, we were writing appraisal gaps before appraisal gaps were a thing. We spent, because of these steps that I'm going through, and it gets deeper. But in like, I don't know, 19, 20, 21, it started getting crazy. So we started developing some strategies to win offers when everybody else didn't. We didn't lose a multiple offer situation where our clients did what we told them in 18 months, because we always had a new trick up our sleeve. And so we've just continued to develop this, and now everybody does all this stuff. But they came out with the term appraisal gap. They started writing language for it. The lawyers did. It's great. We were doing appraisal gaps when we didn't even know that it was a thing, and we didn't know what to write. We just knew what we were doing in the general sense. What an appraisal gap is, though, says we offered 210 on a house. It's worth 200, so the appraisal comes in at 200. And an appraisal gap would say, I'm willing as a buyer to pay out in cash over and above the appraised value up to X number of dollars, or the purchase price, whichever is lower. So if I have a $5,000 appraisal gap, remember I offered 210, appraisal comes in at 200, and I have a $5,000 appraisal gap, I'm going to now pay 205. 200 is what my loan is going to be based on. And I'm going to bring an additional 5,000 in cash over and above the appraisal to compensate for that difference between the purchase price of 210 and the appraisal of 200. Yes, it hurts. But remember, we're saying you're an 11 out of 10, and you just threatened to bury me in the backyard. So this is kind of where we're headed. Yeah. An appraisal gap is huge, because I don't care what you offered. If you have a loan and it doesn't appraise, your purchase price matters zero. So if you write that $1 million offer on this house, as a seller, I'm going, cool, but it's not going to appraise. So we're going to have to start the negotiations over here in a couple of weeks. But if I have that appraisal gap, I know I'm going to get the appraised value plus, which is great for them. And back in the early 2000s, it was all about the appraisal gap, or that was a big piece of it. Got all the way down to there. That 4th step was the appraisal gap, but that's where most agents stopped. We kept going with other ideas, but everybody else stopped at appraisal gap. And it was the war over appraisal gaps. Who had more money in the bank to be able to write the biggest appraisal gap? Matter of fact, at the time, making the team, so being on the field, I'm talking about on the bench of this game we're playing, not in the field playing. I'm talking about just being in the game. A conversation piece, you had to be 10% over the list price and a 5% appraisal gap. Yeah. Otherwise, don't even write the offer. That's how bad it was. It was crazy. $400,000 houses offering $440 with a $20,000 appraisal gap. That was like the starting point. Okay. That was really hard for the people we talked about early in the video. Mom and dad watching their little kid go overpay for a house. Well, overpay is a weird term to use when I've got 14 other people behind me paying the same number. Yeah. Anyway, so appraisal gap's number 4. Purchase price is a huge one. Don't miss that, right? If you lowball them and then offer an appraisal gap, that's stupid. You got to crush it on your offer price. You've got to check your type of lending or cash, or whatever you're doing. You've got to make sure that you are not asking for concessions, and then make sure you've got an appraisal gap is another step. Then we can get into some wild things, and I'm just going to list a few of them, but these are further down the line. So now you can only imagine, we've got all these people writing all these offers with these huge appraisal gaps. And you're going, man, what else can I do to get ahead? And one, you can actually reverse concede. So instead of the seller giving you concessions, you can actually give them concessions. Yeah. Things like, don't make them pay the prorated property taxes, because in theory at closing, they're going to pay you, the buyer, for whatever taxes from last year haven't been paid yet for the property, plus whatever time they've owned it this year. So maybe it's 12 months of property taxes they're going to give you, because the bill's going to come after the sale. It's their bill, but you've got to pay it because you own the house now. Well, skip it. Tell them, you know what, keep all that money. Or maybe we go, we'll give you $3,000 towards your closing costs or anything related to the sell the house? Or what if we were to say, I'm going to give you, $2,000. I'm going to use a word that we haven't talked about, but $2,000 of option money.
Okay.
That means I'm buying, not only am I getting the house under contract, but I'm actually buying the option to purchase the house per this contract for $2,000. That is money delivered at the time of signing directly to the seller. I am buying the ability to buy your house, irrelevant of inspections, irrelevant of appraisals, irrelevant of anything. The house burns down tomorrow. That's probably not actually going to work. But let's say you do the inspections, the crawl space is always like full of water and there's snakes.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's buying the house. Well, you lost your option money because you paid for the option to purchase. Whether you buy it or not, it's their money. How incentivizing would that be for a seller? Like, hey, all these offers look really similar.
Mm-hmm.
They're all really good. But the benefit to our offer is you sign it, I hand you $2,000 cash right now.
Mm-hmm.
Never have to talk to me about that again, no matter what happens, unless you default as a seller, of course. But other than the seller defaulting, the buyer, money's gone. So huge, like worst case scenario, within the next couple of weeks, you made $2,000 as a seller. So we're trying to incentivize. We got to think about what they're going to feel. So
Mm-hmm.
non-refundable option money, or you could do, earnest money that goes hard early in the transaction. Here's one that this is back to the option or earnest money or whatever. They're really similar, so sometimes I'll use them interchangeably, even though they're not interchangeable legally.
Yeah.
One I just did. This is where this came up. I basically did the option thing. We were buying a house down on Prince's Lakes. It's just a little bit south of us, maybe 45 minutes. And it's not a nice house. It's a fine house, but
Yeah.
we're buying it for an investment. We're going to fix it up. Anyway, it was the seller was 100,000 firm, blah, blah, blah. Great. No problem. We talked, everything was wonderful. It was like a really good time for everybody. We get to where the time's wrapping up. It's time to have a real conversation. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm gonna make you an offer. I kind of warned you up front. I'm gonna make you an offer. It's not going to be 100,000, but don't say anything. Wait till I'm done, and I'm going to help you through this.
Mm.
And literally, I went, I'm going to give you $80,000. They're like, well, hold on. I'm going to give you $80,000. Remember, they're 100 firm. Literally bold letters, all caps in their Facebook post. And when I walked in, 100,000 firm. Okay. And these ladies may end up hearing this. That's fine. Like, this is just, how do you buy a house well, right? Because they got the right price. I wasn't paying them 100. That would have been silly. So $80,000, so now they're bummed. Then I said, but I'm going to close it quickly. That was a benefit to them. So I found what was a benefit to them. And I'm going to give you $2,500 right now that I don't get back. So if I don't close this 2 weeks from now, like I said I was,
Mm-hmm.
you just made $2,500. There's no way out of it for me.
Yeah.
Right? I've done offers where it was going to be a cash deal and it's $125,000 and I wrote a $125,000 earnest money check.
Mm.
These are the things that buyers need to get a grasp on and quit being so scared of, and agents need to quit being so scared of. You got to understand, you have to look at it through the lens of the seller and really figure out what's going to make them, tick, what's going to make them pick you. So, man, it's just been something that's really, really come up recently, and I wanted to share it with you.
It's
and
good.
hopefully with other people that'll listen, because, man, I have zero trouble buying houses myself or with clients.
Yeah.
Because all we do is think about the seller. We don't think about ourselves.
Yeah.
We think about the seller, and
Wow.
we give them what they need. What problem can we solve? Whether it's speed,
Yep.
whether it's money now, So okay, so the seller, let's say they've got to go get an apartment to sell the house. Nobody else is going to give them $2,500 or $5,000 non-refundable option money. They can take that option money, go get their stinking apartment.
Yeah.
And now you just relieved all that stress. Guess whose offer they're taking?
Wow.
They're taking my offer. It's I get excited about it. I love it. Like, it's It's just like so many things in life, right? If I worry about the other people and quit worrying about myself, I'm all about you. Like,
Right.
how can I relieve pressure? How can I relieve a speed issue? It needs to be fast. It needs to be slow. You need to stay in the house after closing. You need to, what you need money to get your moving truck going. Like, whatever we can do.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of this does take cash, right? Like real money in your bank. So a buyer that has $0 is going to have a hard time doing much of this.
Right.
You shouldn't be buying a house anyway if you have $0. It just doesn't make any sense. But whatever, we'll do it. I'll help you, but I'm just not going to love it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you've got some cash, we just have to figure out how can we alleviate whatever problem, we can solve whatever problem that seller has, and they take your offer. So
That's good. I mean, I've been saying the same thing in my world. Like, I'm a content creator for other people. I work with them to try to get more awareness. I'm like, I know what you want to say, but listen to what they want to hear. Like, what is important to the end user?
yeah,
Let's talk about what they care about, because that's going to help you. And it's almost like chess, not checkers, really.
it is. And it's a common theme among entrepreneurs, people, or any scenario in sales where you're dealing with money.
Yeah.
The one thing everybody cares about is the money.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying in a negative way. I'm saying, like, when I come to your house and you're a seller and I'm going to help you sell, I'm going to be your listing agent, and I wait for that conversation all the way to the end,
Hmm.
depending on the personality type that I'm reading here, I know if I need to deal with that right up front so that they can listen to the rest of it. There's
Hmm.
some people that can't listen to the entire 30 minutes before until I get to the money part.
Hmm.
So if I sense that type of person, I got to flip it. I'm going to go money first. I'm going to walk in. Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for having me over. Sit down. They ask me for a bottle of water. Like, great. I'll take a bottle of water. Thank you. And then say, hey, let's dive into something I feel like is probably at the top of your list.
Yeah.
And let's talk about what the financial side of this looks like, what your expenses look like, what it costs to pay me and my team.
Right.
And man, all of a sudden, I've got an hour with them and they can hear it all, because before they just kept wondering, well, when's the shoe going to drop? So they're not focused. Some people don't care. We're just out here having a good old time. We talk about the money. They don't even care. They're like, yep, perfect. You're the guy. Let's do this. But
Yeah.
man, you gotta pay attention to that, get to those hard conversations, tell them what they're looking for, what
Right.
they need to hear,
Right.
so that we can move the ball forward. And buyers are communicating to sellers with that offer. That's the only communication tool you have. So let's communicate and make sure your agent's asking questions. Hey, is there a speed thing here? Do we have to be in or out fast? Do you need time after closing? What's important to you?
Yeah.
And what's funny is that listing agent may not even know the answers to those questions. They haven't even asked their own seller that.
Yeah.
So you're going to have make sure your agent, again, you can just run yourself into so many potential issues with an agent that doesn't know all this stuff, but your agent has to be able to lead the other agent down this path, because they don't even know if there's a speed issue. They don't know what problems there are, because they're not that good of an agent on their side.
Right.
Where I'm walking in just like you are, what are you currently struggling with that's going to make this a difficult transaction?
Right.
Well, we have 17 cats. Okay, cool. Now we can start problem solving the 17 cat issue as a listing agent, as a seller, right?
Mhm.
If I don't know there's 17 cats and we just start sending all these people over to look at the house, we've potentially got a real issue and a lot of running around the neighborhood to do.
The cat would be out of the bag at that point.
Yes, and it's barely a proverbial one. Yeah. So that's something that's just really come up in the market, and I feel like it's accelerating and it's picking up. And we need to revisit what was going on a few years ago. And if they call the team,
Yeah.
we will at every step of the way walk you through this process. So if you want to win, let's go win.
Yeah.
And if you can't, here's the thing. If you're a well-qualified borrower, I don't care what house you want, we'll go get it.
Mhm.
We've got some pretty cool things. The short version is we'll turn you into a cash buyer when actually you're getting a loan.
Mm.
And that's where this whole thing precipitated to, this whole like offer price type of financing, no concessions, appraisal gap, start giving money to the seller, on and on and on and on, the non-refundable option money. And all of a sudden it got to where like, man, so many people are showing up to these houses and they're all doing similar things. And half the time the real estate agent doesn't even know how to read some of my crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to explain it to them, but they've got their egos like off the charts and they do 2 houses a year, but they won't listen to anything. And you're like, okay. So we developed a system where, Adam wants to buy a house. He's an FHA buyer, $250,000. We go in and write a cash offer for that house. We win. You go get your loan. You close with your loan.
Wow.
And now guess what? You just beat 40 other offers, even though you're FHA. We did it with a $400,000 house down in Columbus. There was loaded with people, loaded with offers, but we were the only ones that wrote a cash offer. And they were actually an FHA buyer, just well qualified with the right lender that I trusted. I knew I wasn't going to have to actually buy the house. That was the goal.
Right.
But that's where we ended up because we had to continue winning for our clients. It's like, well, we've already done all this stuff and everybody else is now doing all this stuff. What nobody else was doing is making their client a cash buyer. We figured out how to do that.
It's amazing. So much good information, like an encyclopedia of real estate knowledge.
Oh man, it's definitely tough to weed through, kind of work your way through some of it sometimes. But gosh, I love winning.
Yeah.
I love watching the people around me win. And it's really hard. Sometimes we have to let them lose. It's like a kid, a little bit of failure here. And a lot of the agents could resonate with this. We're like going, hey, listen, you can't limp into this one. You're going to have to write the offer of your dreams to this seller to get it. Well, I'm not paying over list price. No problem. Write a lower than list price offer or list price offer, lose. Do it again, lose. Do it again, lose. About the fourth house, they're going, maybe Eli does know what he's talking about. He's not just like,
right.
Yeah. So, and that's okay. We go through the process. Talk to my team like that with that all the time. I'm like, you're going to have to write 3 or 4 losers until they decide to let you write a winning offer because it is so against the way they were raised, the way they've bought cars, the way they do anything. I mean, it just goes. So you got to show them that what they've been doing is not going to work, and then they finally listen up, and we go write the winning offer on the fourth house.
I love it. Well, good stuff, my friend.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
You got it. Hopefully, some of that will stick. But if anybody wants to reach out, obviously they can find me pretty easy on Facebook and Instagram and whatever. But
this will be on Facebook. We'll put on YouTube, and we're also so if they have questions and stuff, make sure you leave them in the chat in the comment section.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. All right, brother. Till next time.
Yes, sir. We'll see you around.
Yes, sir.